The first full week of Red Sox Spring Training is officially done. Here are the highlights. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbin, and thank you very much for clicking on this video. And that's right, 1 week of Red Sox Spring Training has officially come and gone, and I think everyone right now is focused on the drama going on with the Red Sox and where their stars are going to play position-wise, but what about what's actually going on the field? Actual baseball stuff. That's what we're talking about in today's video, what you should be paying attention to currently in Red Sox Spring Training. And I think we got to start with the annual they're in the best shape of their life conversation, right? Every spring training, somebody comes in here and they're in the best shape of their life. Sometimes it translates to being better on the field. Sometimes it just simply means that they're lifting more weights. For the Sox, there's actually a handful of guys that have so far this spring stood out in terms of their shape. First and foremost, Connor Wong is a guy that over the offseason, Alex Cora really highlighted as someone who is trying to bulk up their frame. Well, it appears as though he actually did that because he did come into camp much heavier in terms of mass than he has been in the past few years. Now, Red Sox catching defense last year was abysmal. In terms of their ability to block baseballs behind the plate, they were some of the worst in Major League Baseball. The hope here is that the added frame to Connor Wong behind the dish allows him to be a bit better in that category. We'll sort of see how that plays out on the field, but so far, everything's looking good for where Connor Wong wanted to be coming into spring training. Another one that has stood out to a lot of people so far in the first week is Vaughn Grissom. We've talked about it a few times, but Grissom last year ended up losing about 15 pounds to a flu that he had before he made his Red Sox debut. Because of the grueling baseball schedule, he was never really able to fully make up that muscle mass loss. Well, this offseason, he made that up and then some. He came into camp looking kind of like a completely different person. He's much more filled out. He looks much better. What does that mean for his on-field play? Honestly, not really sure. Again, it's something we're going to have to pay attention to as he starts to fight for a roster spot here during these games. One thing that did stand out to me is that a lot of people were commenting on the power he was now generating at the plate. He was hitting some absolute bombs in BP so far this week. So again, maybe his power stroke is something we should be paying attention to as games kick off. Quinn Priester, that's a big name that's been mentioned a few times in terms of guys who have looked stronger coming into camp this year. In fact, Alex Cora even kind of singled him out as a guy who really started to impress him because of the mass that he gained this offseason. Andrew Parker, our friend here on Red Seat Radio, is reporting from spring training that Quinn Priester gained 20 pounds of muscle this offseason. He was a big dude last year. He's an even bigger dude this year. One interesting thing to pay attention to is how does that affect his velocity? Last season, that was his main task, getting his velocity from a consistent 92, 93 to a consistent 96, 97. He was able to do that by the end of the year. The hope is that, again, this addition to his frame allows him to continuously be in that 96, 97 range on his fastball. And if he does that, kind of sky's the limit with Quinn Priester. A couple of other guys who've put on weight, say Don Rafaela, is apparently noticeably stronger. Masataka Yoshida, Cora said, is in the best shape he's ever seen him in. We'll kind of see with Masa. I still think he ends up on the IL to begin the 2025 season. I think the Red Sox can afford to be kind of cautious with him and make sure that he's 100% ready to go before he rejoins the Boston Red Sox, but apparently, he's in really good shape and hitting the crap out of baseballs. So just a few names there in terms of guys who have gotten bulkier, guys who have put on muscle mass coming into 2025. Again, I don't really know how much this truly affects your ability on the field, right? David Ortiz was never exactly a six-pack Abercrombie model, and he ended up being your best hitter for the better part of over a decade. So I'm not too worried about guys' shapes coming into spring training, but it is absolutely something to take note of, especially if they have specific goals in mind attached to that added frame. It wouldn't be a Red Sox spring training video without talking about the big three prospects, right? They're at the forefront of this spring training for a lot of fans and the Boston Red Sox, and they have so far been impressive according to a lot of different sources, and I think Kristian Campbell right now is at the forefront of that. In fact, nationally, Jeff Passan had this to say about Kristian Campbell just the other day. I was in Red Sox camp this week for 3 days, and let me tell you, they love them some Kristian Campbell. They think he is going to be a star. This is kind of right in line with everything else we've heard about Campbell up to this point in the spring. We've heard a lot of great things. Cora raving about his defense, talking about the sort of approach he has to Major League Baseball and trying to make this team. The Red Sox internally, we've heard it a bunch, how really high on who Kristian Campbell could be. It's really honestly the biggest reason why we even have this drama with Rafael Devers. If the Red Sox weren't so confident in Kristian Campbell's abilities, I don't think that would even be a question to come into this season. So he's making a lot of noise really early, and honestly, kind of more noise than any of the other big three names. So something absolutely interesting to come out of camp is that Kristian Campbell, of these big three prospects, is sort of at the forefront right now. But that doesn't mean these other guys aren't getting their love either. Alex Cora had some really great things to say about Marcelo Mayer and what he's been doing so far this spring, saying, quote, he's really good at shortstop, smooth, good intuition, good instincts for how tall he is. He moves with grace over there. Old school kind of shortstop. Interestingly, another report that's coming out is that Marcelo Mayer is getting a ton of playing time at third base this spring, at least in terms of when he's doing drills. He's also had some time over at second base as well. Not exactly a surprise here. The Red Sox mentioned this offseason that they were going to try and create some versatility in his positioning coming into the spring and into the 2025 season. Just something that's interesting to me with all the drama going on at third base, that he's also taking reps over there at third base. I guess another name to pay attention to. I'm not entirely sure that he's a real threat to start the year on the opening day roster. He's, in my opinion, almost 99% going to be in Worcester to start the season. And obviously, we can't forget about Roman Anthony. Now, there hasn't been a ton of news items for Roman Anthony. Cora's talked about him, right? He thinks he's a fantastic player. One thing that's really stood out, I think, in my opinion, in terms of news highlights this first week of spring training is the mindset that Roman Anthony has. He was picking Trevor Story's brain a lot. He's picking Alex Bregman's brain a lot. He's really trying to get some information as to what it takes to be on the Major League roster. And he continues with the mindset that he wants to leave camp with this big league club. It's kind of a tall task with Wilyer and Cedon currently in the outfield, but it's certainly not impossible either. He's also kind of already getting Rookie of the Year comparisons, which is kind of cool. He's already one of the favorites to win a Rookie of the Year this season, so that's kind of fun. We are going to get our first glimpse of all three of these guys in a Red Sox uniform tomorrow when the Red Sox play Northeastern. We'll probably see a lot of them early on this spring before these regular everyday starters end up getting their reps in for spring training. So over the next week or so, we're going to get a whole lot of Marcelo Mayer, Kristian Campbell, and Roman Anthony in a Red Sox uniform. Always super fun. I think if you guys aren't looking forward to the Red Sox playing Northeastern just simply because baseball's back, you can look forward to it because you're getting your first glimpse of these three together in a Red Sox uniform with manager Alex Cora there as well. On the pitching side of things, Garrett Crochet is getting into his live BP sessions, and he's already sitting at like 99 miles an hour. The dude is an absolute freak. He comes into spring training, and he's almost throwing 100. We absolutely love to see that. If this is Crochet to start the regular season, I'm terrified for opposing hitters for the regular season. Absolutely pumped to see Garrett Crochet get his first reps in a Red Sox uniform. Apparently that's going to be Sunday, so keep an eye out on that. Outside of Garrett Crochet just being an absolute freak in nature, though, Lucas Giolito is scheduled to start his live BP sessions this week. Well, really next week, beginning Monday at some point, he's going to be throwing live BP. One thing that he's specifically working on this spring training is really sort of getting his slider back. He said, quote, specifically, getting the velocity higher and the movement profile. He also said that he thought his slider, quote, got a little loopy over the past couple of years and that it was starting to look more like a curveball. He said that played a part in why he saw his numbers start to dip in 2023. I'm also saying that he's going to start relying on his changeup as sort of his secondary pitch coming into the season. Not really any repertoire changes for Lucas Giolito, just sort of him getting back and really refining those pitches that have made made him a really successful major league pitcher before. Excited to see bearded Lucas Giolito take the mound for the Sox. We should be getting our first legitimate BP footage this week sometime, so keep an eye out on that. I'll probably throw it in a video at some point next week. Liam Hendriks also throwing live BP sessions, which for those of you guys who don't know, I'm not going to assume everyone knows what BP stands for. It's batting practice. Essentially, what they're doing is they're throwing a live bullpen, right? They're facing legitimate hitters who are trying to get legitimate hits off of them, simulating in-game action. Liam Hendriks had one of those this week as well. Now, he was sitting between 93 and 94 miles an hour on his fastball. That's not terrible. It's certainly not where you want Liam Hendriks to be. He was most effective out of the bullpen when he was sitting in those high 90 ranges. Preferably, you want him to come out of spring training, I think at the bare minimum, sitting 95, 96 on his fastball. I'm not too worried about the velocity stuff just yet. He is coming back from surgery, right? It's not like he's been playing over the last couple of years. My guess is he's slowly ramping his arm up to get to full speed by the end of spring. Now, if he's sitting 93, 94 by the time, let's say, the end of February rolls around, or really the end of March rolls around, then I think we've got a little bit of a bigger issue and something we need to talk about. But for right now, I'm not entirely worried about Liam Hendriks' velocity. I'm just happy he's back on the mound. Some other prospects who, pitching-wise, who have been impressing so far, at least early on this spring. Conley Early, recent draft pick for the Boston Red Sox, threw his first live BP of the 2025 spring training. He was sitting in that 96 range. That's absolutely fantastic. He had a little bit of velocity in college baseball, but to see that translating over to Major League Baseball this early is absolutely fantastic, especially when you're talking about the first week of spring training. And Richard Fitts, can't make a video about prospects potentially impressing without Richard Fitts. Apparently, according again to Andrew Parker, he threw a live BP as well, and coaches were incredibly impressed by it. In fact, they were raving about it to Andrew. This is a really good sign. Again, you go back to what's going to be the difference between the 2024 Red Sox and the 2025 Red Sox. It's going to be that pitching depth. Having not only a high ceiling as a rotation, but a high floor as well, with guys like Priester coming in 20 pounds heavier and velocity being up, and Fitz coming in and throwing impressive bullpens. Having those guys as sort of your 7th and 8th type starters is going to be massive for the 2025 Red Sox. We're going to be getting our first glimpse of Richard Fitts probably sometime early next week as games start to kick off here. And then finally, I didn't really know what category to put this under. It's not really someone gaining weight. It's not really about a prospect. It's just simply an Alex Bregman update. He is their newest addition to this team. Couple of things stood out to me. One, him and Trevor Story have been spending a ton of time together. I absolutely love that. Two veteran dudes, two scrappy players, two guys who can set a mindset for a clubhouse. So I love that they are getting to really know each other and getting really accustomed to each other. I think that's a good thing. One thing that I also love about what Bregman's brought to this team early on this spring, I don't know if this was strategically or if it was just coincidence, his locker is set up essentially right in between Roman Anthony and Kristian Campbell, and he's getting a ton of time with these up-and-coming prospects. I don't think there's a better person for these guys to lean on in terms of knowledge, in terms of trying to get themselves ready for Major League Baseball, than a guy like Alex Bregman. According to him, they've been asking him a ton of questions, which is a fantastic thing. He's really impressed by their mindset and by their ability. So he's really impressed by the prospects. It was also a big reason why he came here. Honestly, it came out this week as well that one of the things that Bregman looked for when choosing a team to play for was what was their future going to look like. And right now, the Red Sox future is pretty damn bright. On top of that, in terms of on-field play, he's been taking some reps at second base. Honestly, a lot of reps at second base. Obviously, also some at third base as well. Again, one of those things we're going to have to wait and see how it shakes out. So overall, there's been a lot happening in Red Sox camp so far. There's been a whole lot of good news, some bad news. I wouldn't even say bad news, just some drama created mostly by the media. But it's impressive, isn't it, that a lot of this, I'm assuming you guys haven't really heard of because we've been so focused on Rafael Devers and for some reason Tristan Casas' comments. My favorite part of all of this is that legitimate baseball is back, right? We're talking about guys legitimately playing the game, and I think that's exactly what this fan base needed. A break from the rumors, from the drama, and just strictly focusing on the baseball. So let me know in the comment section down below, what do you guys think? What do you think about the first week of Red Sox camp? Is there anything that really stood out to you? you. Is there anything I didn't mention in this video that you guys think is a big highlight of this first week of Red Sox spring training? Let me know all your thoughts on this week in the comment section down below. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor. Make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. It just simply helps out a ton, and it's the best way to let me know you're enjoying the content. Don't forget, if you guys want to listen instead of watch these episodes, all you got to do is head over to your favorite podcasting app and look up Red Seat Radio. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the red seats.